to center off with Eckerly, and he just missed the net. O'Reilly with the shot. Far down, he scored!
Come from behind for a month. Now with the lead, they're getting a little wobbly. Philadelphia, they won't get it! Wow! Edwards pulls up and buries the flag! Richardson tries, out for Robbie Ryan. Her three right on the money. Daniels takes his shot for Derby. Flag out.
There we go. What up, my Pitchfork Lunch peeps? So I'm speaking a teeny bit quietly just due to the fact that we're doing something a little different today. So welcome into Pitchfork Lunch. Obviously, I'm Michael Caratonito at Diablo00 on X, artist formerly known as the Twitter. As you guys know, I see the show live there every day, Monday through Friday, 12 to 1. You can also go to the wonderful IG page, my Instagram, michael.caratonito.5. and see it there too. Also, the YouTube channel. You guys that are watching, you know this. If anything you've missed, any conversations you missed, again, it was awesome to have swim and dive, men's and women's swim and dive head coach Herbie Baymon yesterday, coming off the Big 12 championships, not just for men or women, for men's and women's Big 12 championships. So again, go to the YouTube channel and watch live and subscribe. So it's at M as in Michael, V as in Victory, C as in Champ 005 at MVC 005 on YouTube, and subscribe again, because we're going to be bringing you a lot. Also, for those of you that are watching, you can let your friends know that they can always listen to Pitchfork Lunch live on the best internet radio station on the web, the Casual Sports Radio Network. All they have to do is go to www.ksrnaz.com, click listen live. Their page will open up, click listen live, hit play Monday through Friday, 12 to 1. Bam. There's Pitchfork Lunch, Sun Devil content all over the place. Absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, Casual E invited Pitchfork Lunch in, and yes, we are here for you. So again, you can listen all over. You're driving, of course, I want you to watch. Don't watch and drive. Like I tell you every day, you're Sun Devils, you're smarter than that. So again, log on to stream it through your Bluetooth, and to do that, you just have to go to www.ksrnaz.com. Click listen live. Monday through Friday, 12 to 1, hit play. There's Pitchfork Lunch. So that is absolutely awesome. Plus, subscribe to their socials, because you want a comprehensive coverage of the Suns, the D-backs, the Cardinals, the Mercury. Casual E has you completely covered. It is phenomenal. So subscribe to that, to their socials on Casual Sports Radio Network. And again, you won't be sad on the Monday through Friday. Like I said, you get Pitchfork lunch 12 to 1. Also, you're driving, you're meeting your friends for lunch, get out of your car. Of course, you keep listening on your phone, or you can watch all those ways. So, but this is what I'm going to do right now. So I am going to take a break, and we are going to have the, again, ASU assistant coaches are here. Offense is going first, then defense. I'll bounce around. So that is what it's going to be like. I'm going to take a break and come back as, again, let your friends know, because you're going to hear from just a different bunch of assistant coaches. It's scrum style. So yes, it won't be just like all one-on-one with my questions, but again, that's all right. We'll survive. So yes, I'm going to take a break. And then when we get back, we will have, again, all of coaches will be in on conversations. You're going to hear it. You're going to see, we're going to move around. It'll be absolutely phenomenal. Okay, so we're going to step aside and have more of that coming up here on Pitchfork Lunch. So, hey, let all your friends know.
KSRN has the inside track on all things sports, with topics and opinions from former players and local personalities. Catch 15-year NFL veteran Ed Smith and Jay Adams on Easy Sports Talk every Saturday.
Unfortunately, with this back and these knees, I don't quite have that ability, or at least I use. Are you good?
For all things Arizona Cardinals, tune in Monday nights with Casual E and Sean Conn.
Bird gang, I know it's another tough loss, but keep encouraged. We miss you, BA.
And now you can exclusively listen to former Arizona Cardinal Jeremy Bridges on his show, JB and Benny Blue Review.
Exactly.
Don't be dumb.
Sending the message out to the world.
Always relaying that message. Don't be dumb.
Yes, your guy, Benny Blue, comedian extraordinaire.
Exclusively on KSRN, Casual Sports Radio Network.
This is the sound of a racing heart. It's beating a little faster because it belongs to a young child. But this child isn't in the middle of a close soccer game or playing with her puppy in the yard. Her heart is racing because she's just been told she has to move foster homes again. Change a child's story. There's a child waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at casaforchildren.org. This is the sound of a racing heart. It's beating a little faster because it belongs to a young child. But this child isn't in the middle of a close soccer game or playing with her puppy in the yard. Her heart is racing because she's just been told she has to move foster homes again. Change a child's story. There's a child waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at casaforchildren.org. This is the sound of a racing heart. It's beating a little faster because it belongs to a young child. But this child isn't in the middle of a close soccer game or playing with her puppy in the yard. Her heart is racing because she's just been told she has to move foster homes again. Change a child's story. There's a child waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at casaforchildren.org. This is the sound of a racing heart. It's beating a little faster because it belongs to a young child. But this child isn't in the middle of a close soccer game or playing with her puppy in the yard. Her heart is racing because she's just been told she has to move foster homes again. Change a child's story.
Got a big painting project you've been putting off because you don't think you can afford it? Well, it's time to call the team at Customer First Solutions. Customer First is your one-stop shop for all home repairs, from full interior and exterior painting to handyman services, drywall repair, electrical, and plumbing. Customer First has the most competitive prices in the Valley. Your flat rate quote is based on the square footage of your home, and that includes wall repair. All Customer First technicians are licensed, bonded, and fully background checked for your assurance. Call or text Customer First Solutions at 480-877-0255 for your free quote. Customer First Solutions, where our customers and their homes are our first priority.
You are listening to the best internet radio station on the web, KSRN, Arizona.
Yes, you guys are listening to the best internet radio station on the web, the Casual Sports Radio Network. So, okay, I'm going to switch cameras, and now we're going to go get ASU assistant coaches. And it'll be a lot of fun. Football assistant coaches, that is. So, enjoy.
They learn. You know, one of the things that people won't see is in the Texas game on our 2-point conversion in the fourth quarter, he went the wrong way, and he went the wrong, or it was one of the touchdowns. He went the wrong way, and Max did a great job of blocking his guy, and most guys would have crumbled after that. It was a big moment in the game, and he went the wrong way, and the right tackle did a great job of covering up for him, Max did. And I was hard on him. And he came back and he played his tail off. And he actually did a great job on the clip where he went viral, which, was illegal, but, he did it. He played hard when he grabbed Scat. But he did his job. It was one of his best cutoffs. And Scat had to cut it back. And he, like I said, we know the rules. But he grabbed the guy and pushed him in. And he made a full speed decision. And I was proud of him that he played hard. He didn't crumble because of what happened 2 series ago. And the old Kyle would have.
Last question, Leafs, the NFL draft, going to get there. Have you heard from him or anything along those lines?
I try to be now getting coached by one of the best. He's training over at with Charles Bentley, and I just let them do that part of it because that's their specialty, and they do a great job over at AMBG. And I'm just there for support. I try not to put any pressure. Hey, what do you weigh and what do you this? I just say, hey, you need anything? How's your girlfriend? How's all that stuff? How's his dog? I'm there for support. He's in great hands, and I didn't want to put too much pressure on him and just ask him, hey, how you doing? And this, and how's your 10-yard time? But, I think he's in good hands, and he works his tail off. So.
And Coach, when you look at, obviously, talking about that game, having time to digest it, but just from obviously where the team started to where they ended up, and to have it, be an exciting game but end in a tough way, how do you feel that's fueled the guys, the O-line in the offseason?
Well, I think it that game probably, right now what we try to tell our guys is the offensive line is success isn't the end product. They should be fueled by them just wanting to be the best. And I think what they got out of it is for the second year in a row. They played their best football at the end of the year. And that's all you, as a coach, you want them to plateau at the very, very end, right? You want them to keep playing. They played their best at the end, and that's what I think they took out of it. They fought their hearts out, and they played hard, and it was tough, man. They were a good team, and our guys were gassed, and they learned how to play through some adversity, and they learned how their weight and things like that is going to affect them in a good way. And so, I think that what they got out of the game, really they got out of the season is their steps on progression, their steps on how to take notes, their steps on how to make a call play and all that, and you can't skip a step. And so they can't go from game 1 to game 14 and try to skip the steps. So I think they, with our standards, what we try to do here is that they understood, like, the reason why we got there is because we went through the process and we took our steps and we got better. And we may have stumbled here and there, but we took our steps. And that's why I think I think they did a great job with just understanding that.
So, Coach, one of the things heading into the spring is Ben Coleman sliding over to center.
Yeah.
What are some of the factors that went into making that decision, and some of the things about Ben that you think could be make him a natural player to lead?
Yeah, we just, like when you get a kid like Ben, you look at Ben's history. He's played tackle at Cal. He came here to play guard. I like to have that center to be the vocal point, the leader, the kid that's really, really solid, is going to get stuff done. And he's going to lead the guys both off the field and on the field. And he's, he was a national leader with Leaf last year with the two-headed monster. And him playing next to Leaf and knowing the calls and talking, I think it's a natural progression of him. And selfishly, I think it's going to help him for his future. I think he'll be a hell of a center and for the next level. And so he's got a lot of game time experience, again, at tackle guard and consistent football. He knows what his body feels like. He knows what it feels like to get hit from right and left. He knows a lot of ball. He's been in our system for really 3 years now. And so he knows the offense. And it's just getting him to make those calls and the whys of why we're doing. He'll know, like right now, you go up on the board, he'll tell you what the scheme is and what we're trying to do as an offense, as an entirety. Now he's trying to figure out, okay, why are we doing that? Why do you like this? And he'll tell you, draw up all the plays and who blocks who and who's responsible for who. And now he's telling you why. And that's why I think in the center position, as long as you can figure out the whys and why you make decisions and do it at a fast tempo, I think it'd be a good move for him. So that just his intelligence, his experience, I think is good. Why we did it. We need a guy.
And like set that physicality, that tone. Well, obviously last year, it paid off. But I say that because this year, you guys obviously last year picked to finish last. People obviously that other teams are preparing for you, but kind of overlooked. So now that you have a target on your back, how much more exciting does it make it for your group?
Yeah, it is. It's whether you say that, hey, don't worry. But I mean, when you're picked last, you go out there and shoot your shots and start firing off. And hey, F it. What happens. And we try to keep that same mentality now that we're in this position to where it's like, all right, we did what we were supposed to do as a team. Now we got to do it again. Now it's different because now we're not sneaking up on teams. Now they're ready. Now they're going to prepare just a little bit. Not that they weren't last year, but now they might, spend an extra day on what we do. So, and quite frankly, last year you also factor in that Marcus just came in. So teams weren't really sure what we're doing, what's our identity, because we have a new offensive coordinator. We weren't very good. And now it's like, all right, everybody's back. The system's back. So now they have a little bit more to prepare in the offseason for us. So nothing changes in our mind. They know that we're not sneaking up on people. We're not, he's going to be the Cinderella, and we just got to be ready for the team's best shot.
With Max after spring, who are some of the guys you're going to be looking for at that right tackle spot?
Like I said, Jalen, and Jalen was in the battle for the both tackle spots last year with Josh and Emmett and Max. And so Jalen obviously will fill in and rep on both sides, and he will battle both of those guys. And it's nice to have three guys. But also young guys. You factor in a champ, Westbrooks, who came in at 245 pounds, and now he's about 290. And credit to Joe and Taylor, Joe in the weight room and Taylor in the nutrition. that the kid is starting to push. And we lost Bram, unexpected injury, Bram Walden, and so we replaced Bram, and we got Xander Ruggieri, who was a 6'7" kid from Bishop Gorman, went to Nebraska, and for whatever reason didn't work out, and he's here. So they both look good, and Champ is probably more the athlete, where Xander is more of the rugged, hit you in the face and ask questions later. So it's a good mix. And so you got those young guys kind of rolling through that to where we're figuring out having Max being out is a blessing for those young guys. It's opportunity. So we're excited, and they get to get the reps, and Josh gets more reps to get better and play that left tackle position. So we got a good squad, and then you factor in the guys that have been in the program for a year, and Caden and Connor Cameron and Caden Hackle. And then you bring in the freshman and Uwe, who's a giant and who's eager and he's hungry, and you get them all in. So it's exciting that you got guys to replace them.
So on the left side, you're looking at Josh Atkins coming back.
Yep.
Also, some guys in the left guard spot that you think are going to be.
And he's healthy.
Hopefully teach him the counseling side of it. All the background stuff, not just the X's and O's, but how to treat new players and how to recruit and those kind of things. So it's exciting, and he's a sponge, and he wants to be good at it, and hopefully learning from me, and I'll learn from him as well. But I'm excited to work with him because I know the type of person he is. I think all the systems that we've run have been relatable to the Coach Royals is what we do here is exactly what they do in the NFL. So that transition makes it a lot easier. So I think that's the only reason why they can play early and are successful there as well. But I think it's the familiarity with the system in college is very similar to what they're running.
Started multiple seasons.
So do you see him kind of taking that leadership intensity down
Well, yeah, I think just for us, and his experience being a part of a championship conference, guys that are all in invested, and I think that experience helped him when he got in the door, and then he helped himself. He's a smart football. He was a smart football player. He's a very smart football coach. He's got a high IQ, and he works and grinds on stuff he doesn't know. He commits himself to learning it, and so he came in. He's been a sponge. He's been a sponge from Coach Lord. He's been a sponge from Coach Cooper, and he's willing to do whatever it takes. If we need coffee, he'll go get it, and he's not going to say, "Oh, that's not my job." He's that guy. And those are the guys that have success in this business. Are young guys that come in without egos, that work hard, and are about the grind, because it's a grind. Not everybody can handle it. Everybody thinks they want to be a part of it, and then you get in and you're like, "Man, I don't love football that much." But Cannon's never hesitated. He's never balked at the grind, and that's why he's where he is now and why he's going to continue to elevate.
Hey, Coach, bouncing off my colleague's question, how much have you seen Jalen grow from his time here at ASU to now dominating at the combine?
Well, I mean, obviously, I got a year with him, and got to have a little small hand in that development. Even though we had some rocky roads and some bumps in the road during that time, I think he grew up a lot from last year to this year. I think he got a little bit more serious about it. I was actually at the Texas High School Coaches Association convention with our staff, and the Titans coach at Texas Tech came up and introduced himself, and it's like, "Jalen has great things to say about you." And we had a really good talk about him and talked about the things that made him special, and talked about the things that he really needed to work on. And so I know that was just a continued development for him. So yeah, really happy for him. I wish him all the best. Want him to see him be successful. Want him to see him stay hungry and continue to grind and never be comfortable, because he does. He has a tremendous ability, and I think he really holds the keys to his future. If he commits himself 100% to football and grinding and working and doing all that stuff, I think the sky's the limit for him.
Coach, speaking of obviously grinding and working hard, I was just talking to Coach Dewey Tiller. I mean, last year, obviously picked to finish last, and teams are, of course, they're playing you, they're going to prepare for you. But and you've been through it before, obviously at the high school level. But how much I guess how much more fun is the challenge of coaching when you know you have that target on your back?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a competitor, that's what you want. You know, it's like, why did you make the jump up from high school to college? You know, you're having so much success, you can be there forever. You know, well, if you're a competitor, you want at this level, you want to try to win at the next level. If you're a competitor, you don't just win 1 year and pat yourself on the back and kick your feet up. You want to continue to win. You want to win at a higher level. You want to take the next step. So I think that's it. I think we have a lot of people that have had success at you know, various levels of college and pro and high school and things like that. I think that was one of the caveats to getting hired on this staff by Coach Dillingham was being an elite competitor. And one of the caveats to getting recruited into this program is being an elite competitor. We don't want kids that don't love to compete. And so I think that's it. Now we have to elevate our game. There's going to be a target on our back. We're not going to sneak up on anybody. And so because of that, we have to be that much better. So that's the challenge this spring and this fall. This summer, when the coaches aren't here and the players are in here lifting and grinding, that's the challenge, is how do we be that much better than we were last year? Because what we were last year is not going to be good enough to repeat what we did. We've got to be better in every facet.
And speaking of getting better, I mean, I know I obviously talked to you a lot about the tight end room in general, but Shaman in general last year, and just like his growth and buy-in, like you talk about it. But from the end of the season, and I know like being around him now, just how do you feel that he's grown and ready to lead the tight end?
Yeah, I mean, I think he came in, you know, a little bit as kind of a wounded dog. You know, he left as a young, very talented player that was one of the top tight ends in the portal. Went to Colorado and then didn't really get a chance there. And they kind of shifted to a 10 personnel. We're not really using a tight end. And he kind of got cast off to the side. And when he went back into the portal, there wasn't the same, you know, attention around him as before. And there was information out there on who he was as a person that wasn't accurate. And people were backing off him because that was the word on the street, was this who this kid was. And so he came in here. I think he came in with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. He came in, I think, a little bit cautiously optimistic. Because of the experience he had before. And so it was cool to see him buy in, start having success, start trusting the process and the coaches and the system and everything. And I think the thing that's cool, and I talked about it yesterday in our tight end meeting, is Shaman was an all-conference tight end, not because he was a 1,000-yard receiver, but it was a lot because of what he did physically to impact the game. And that's what we talk about all the time as a tight end. You have to be able to impact the game without the ball in your hands. And I thought he really embodied that. He was so good for us. He was physical in the run game. He was athletic and physical on the perimeter blocking. You know, we're throwing those swing screens to scat, and you know, the receivers have to block. The tight ends are there blocking big body guys, and you're in the core blocking defensive ends. And so he did a lot of things that didn't show up on the stat sheet, but I think are a big part of why he was an all-conference tight end. And so proud of him. The challenge for him this year is now to step up and take on a leadership role. You know, now you've come back. You can't, the modern college football, you can't wait till you're a 4-year senior in a program to be a leader. It's not the reality. If you've been here for a year and you've been a part of the success, that next year, now you are going to be counted on to be a leader. It's very much like high school football. You get juniors and seniors. The seniors graduate. The juniors are leaders. They've only been playing varsity football for a season, but now they've got to step up and be leaders. And so I think that's the challenge for him, is to take some of these young guys under his wing to push and elevate. And my job was to bring in guys like Kamari Anderson to push him and to make sure that he doesn't get comfortable, because Kamari's a very, you know, extremely talented player that's been working his tail off. So excited about the tight end room. Obviously, it starts with Shaman, and you know, we're excited to have the guys come back. Cameron Hartwell as well. He's had a tremendous offseason. I think we just talked today. He's put on 4 pounds and lost 3% body fat. He's running. He almost hit 21 miles an hour on the catapult, which is the fastest in the tight end room. So you can see guys that standard is elevated, and guys are making each other better.
It's a standard question to every freshman or rookie, but I've never heard it asked to a coach. What was your Division I moment where you realized, wow, this is not high school?
It was my Division I moment was our first home game against Southern Utah, the Haboob night. And but before the Haboob rolled in, I was standing on the sideline, and I looked up and saw my wife and kids in the stands, and then the lights went out, and AC/DC started jamming, and I tears streaming down my eyes. So that was my Division I moment. It was like, I've been on the other side. I've been up in the stands. I've come watch my players play for this team. But to be on the sideline and be a part of this program, a program that, you know, my dad coached for, my mom was a cheerleader, and I graduated from, and my wife graduated from, that was pretty special. So that was my moment. And there was a couple different moments along the way. You know, obviously this year, walking out to Cowboy Stadium, the Big 12 championship was pretty special. You know, coming out, Mercedes-Benz, in the Peach Bowl and seeing Texas run out the other tunnel was pretty special. So there's been some, but the one that I'll never forget is that first home game. I used to show him when my son was 1 year old and he'd be upset. We call it Sparky Stomps the Bus, and we put Sparky Stomp the Bus on, and he'd stop crying and watch it, And so I couldn't help but, look at him up there and know that like I'm a part of this. It was when we used to watch that video, I wasn't a part of the team, and now we are. So that was pretty special.
How are you a better coach than the one I've stood on the sideline?
I can be really honest. I guess I don't think dynamic, amazing that performed and did things with the system and did what we asked them to do. You guys led together. I mean, you have to give the players all the credit for all of it. And I think that to be able to sit there and go, oh, we'll be fine, or that never happened, or we just move on, I don't think that's reality. I think, you work through it and you celebrate it, and then you do a lot of things in terms of telling them, here's the plan for moving forward. And I think there's a lot of ownership and membership in that, because I think that gives credit to people who earned it. I think it gives credit to them. And I think it shows them the humility that you've got in regards to like, all right, we got to rebuild and we got to put this thing back together. And the only people got left to do it are us.
And for Sam, having coached Justin and seeing what it takes to be like a top 10 NFL prospect, knowing that that's probably one of Sam's goals for this year, what does he still have to do to get to that point?
There's a delicate balance between that. I use it a lot because I know how driven he is, whether it's Mullins or recruiting golf or Herbert or all those guys. It's like, even guys that we're studying right now, like every year I pull, hundreds of clips or different teams and players, whether it's Stafford or whether it's Burrow or whether it's Justin or whether it's golf or whatever we're doing. And just trying to find a few things where I'm like, hey, here's some cool stuff that I can give you now, and maybe I couldn't give you last year. I don't want you to overthink things last year. Like, let's grab these 10 things I've got on my whiteboard and let's pick 3 of them that we think we can apply to us. And that gives us kind of a new challenge. It kind of sets our kind of navigational beacon towards the next step without getting into a draft. Here's a challenge here, because we got a lot of work to do. A ton of work. You're not going to play in 14 games and all of a sudden you're like NFL ready. That's not the case. You're not going to play in 20 games. You're going to hope it's 30 plus games if you're looking at any of the like empirical marks of like going into that thing ready to go. That's just my personal belief. You study it for a long time. You look at the Parcells stuff. You look at the Walsh stuff. You look at the Belichick stuff. You're looking at 30 plus starts. Where are those at? Like, where can you get guys that show like, all right, I'm here for the long haul of this thing? And so that preparation starts back now, and we're going to take it one step at a time without getting over our skis. He'll do a great job of digesting that stuff, and it's my job to keep it kind of reined back.
And then, Coach, to piggyback off of preparation, when you talk about, so talking to Coach Tuitella and Coach Mons, like last year, obviously, teams are preparing for you. They're playing you, but pick to finish last. But this year coming in with a target on the back, how much more exciting do you feel that makes it for the guys and just for the offense?
I think that, again, I'm going to lean on the fact that they're going to be excited about the body work they've done. One of the first meetings I did have is I did take one of the first slides I usually show, and after the first season, if we've had success, is how the targets are going to change. Your opponents are going to be more ready. You're going to be the game, and how the distractions and everything can manifest from here. There's been a lot of distractions now because now there's a lot more lights, right? I use the same slide. I used the same picture, ironically, from last year where I picked at the bottom and I went through the top teams that were on last year. Utah, K-State, Kansas, Arizona, West Virginia. And a lot of things happen with those staffs and players that aren't very exciting. I said those teams probably had something that they didn't deal with well at some point. Now we have to figure out how to deal with what they have. And so it's not just you get there and everything's just going to be all kosher and perfect. It's like, how do I deal with some of the things that you know are coming? Because that's what I told them I can guarantee. I can guarantee this is what's going to happen. It's going to be brighter, louder, and more distractions. And so how do you deal with it better than maybe these guys do? And that kind of gives us, again, kind of maybe points us in a direction that keeps things organic and thinkable and grounded. Because it's a short ride from the penthouse to the outhouse.
Here's a sense of just your license how the receiving room will change this year.
How's the receiver look?
You know, the receiving core we could probably be more excited about. I mean, for a lot of reasons, we brought a lot of guys that are high character dudes, great, obviously intangibles. We evaluated the heck out of them, recruited the heck out of them, and Coach Hines did an awesome job of getting that room organized in year 2 now, where there's going to be some pretty special guys in that room. Not to say we didn't have it last year. It's just time on task with me being new, Hines being new, system being new. And being able to, again, upgrade every year. That's the reality of what we have to do, right? And so those guys are excited. JT's going to be the lead horse in what we do, obviously because of the situation, the experience he's got, and put him in a position last year where I really used him in every which way we could, and that was part of it. Similar to what we did at other spots. That was the plan. I'm glad it worked out that way. And now we got some other guys that are going to be able to step up the role. And I think when you've got some balance away from him and next to him, you can really manipulate the defense in a lot of ways. Whether it's Moss, whether it's Jaron, whether it's going to be Noble, whether it's going to be any of those guys. Malik only played in 4 games. I mean, you got Kamari at tight end. I mean, it's going to be some guys out there away from the core that's going to be some real dudes. And to have the depth is going to be huge.
You mentioned more of an opportunity.
I think just if you start with just the tail end of the season, we got a chance to play them in those situations where we could play them, and you saw what we saw early in the camp and season, where you're like, all right, we feel like this is going to be a value as we move forward, and then we need to get them through the middle of it. I think starting at the back end, seeing some plays he made, seeing the maturity, seeing the evolution of him going from scout team back to us, the game slowing down, him maturing to the system and us. I think the sky's the limit. I mean, he's going to be an awesome asset for us.
And then, Coach, when you talk about obviously like with the receivers, but you coming in last year and obviously knowing Leaf and Leaf being able to kind of make the offensive transition smooth for the line of the guys, but Coach Tuitella talking about Ben Coleman moving over to center and obviously him being in the program, but being next to Leaf last year, how obviously it's big, but what kind of advantage is that to have Ben moving over to center for you guys?
Well, I think Ben's got a ton of experience. Him being next to Leaf last year is the way you want it when you have to go and model the talent acquisition and player development piece on a roster management sheet is how is the next guy got to move into the critical positions. Hopefully they're right there to learn. Ben was right there. He's going to do a great job. I think the maturity of the quarterback is going to be another piece where you're going to be able to mitigate how much experience the center had last year at center doing what he does. And now the quarterback's got a little more experience. You might be able to mitigate it a little bit with a new center. So there's some exciting pieces of growth between those two. I think Ben's going to be great. And I think it gives us a chance to continue on and for what, the state in which Leaf left the offense.
To that point about being time on task and you being instilled already in the programs, how beneficial?
You know what? I think you're right.
Absolutely.
That's not my.
There you go.
Good to see you.
Just a couple more for Coach, and we gotta get
Okay.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
When was it?
Yesterday.
Yeah,
yes.
right.
So look at that, Coach Iguana. So I'm actually doing my show live. I have it on the computer. And I'm doing this whole thing live. So, all right. So obviously last year, Cam, you already had well documented. Goes to the combine, tears it up there, but the running backs right. I talked to Coach Tuitella. I know you got a guy at Army, so I was like, a little conversation there, like him coaching at Army, like bring this guy in, but obviously with Cam leaving, the leadership that you talked about, that he brought, that you instilled in the room, but how is the room shaping up so far? And I mean, obviously I know you guys are, I know you definitely deserve your vacation and your time off, but spring ball approaching, how excited are you to get back on the field, and what's the room looking like?
I'm excited for that room. I think the maturity and the way they go about business, SIP is now kind of the older gentleman in that room, and so he has a lot to prove as well, and he's the one that played the most. So it's kind of like it could be yours to lose. So what are you going to do with it? But that's the mentality with everyone. Who's going to go win it? It's an open tryout. Who's going to rise to the top? And so all of those guys, and I say this every year, I'm very fortunate because they all work together for one goal to be the guy. But there is no love lost, and so they're always helping out each other. So it's an incredible room again.
Right, because I know, and you've said throughout the years, one guy, if he does separate himself, of course, you want to give him the ball. And as running backs,
And I mean, they echo what you do. Obviously, what their coach says, but it's competition. But they want the ball, but they're going to support whoever. And I know last year I asked you the same question. Can less be more? I mean, obviously more was more for Cam, but at the same time, I mean, with this group, I know Alto and Jason, like, it's a deep room, but I mean, can that less be more? And I mean, if that's the point of my question. I don't want it to seem like a bad light because people say, oh, well, nobody took the starting position. You're using multiple guys. They're all very effective. So, I mean, when they're competing like that and knowing that less could be more, when they're helping each other, I mean, how much do you see, like, the growth and the understanding of the offense since they're helping each other?
Absolutely. And I think, there's going to be sometimes in some years that there's going to be only one bell cow, and then somebody's going to, like it was last year. I think that this room has the possibility of having 2 or 3 guys that can carry a load at any time, because they all do different things and they're so diversified. And so we want to see that, but I've tried to do that in every single room that I've had, and there's always been somebody that has stepped up. Rashad White sharing carries in the beginning of the year, and then you see him explode to where he's at. And so kind of same thing with Scat with DeCarlos last year, and then where Scat comes in. So I'm excited because that room is really diversified, and we'll see how that works. But I think somebody always steps up to be the leader, and I don't know who that is yet.
And then when you look at, I mean, last year, obviously, and like I said, the Coach Wands, the Coach Tuitele, and Coach Arroyo, that teams are preparing for you. Pick to finish last or not. In this day and age of competition, if anybody's overlooking somebody, they're in for a long day. But now that you have the target on your back, how exciting is that as prep, knowing that teams they're like, oh, okay, that's last year's comp. They're the reigning champs. I know it's a new season, they're still the reigning champs. So what's the challenge in that and the excitement you feel from the players?
I think that the guys are going to have to step it up a little bit. There's no taking care of the little things, the details, all of those things. I think they're going to have to do a lot better job now, understanding that every game is going to be somebody's best game. And there's not going to be a game that you're going to sneak up on. And so that's the maturity level that hopefully our group understands and gets ready for it.
And my last one for you, a few weeks ago, and I've talked to different coaches. I mean, kind of your old stomping grounds, the high school level, but Nebraska's Coach Rule was talking about like having spring games and with the portal and the players that he lost through the portal. And some people were saying, oh, he's just whining. I don't think a coach is whining. He was stating a fact. He was calm about it, but not really. He said not really having like a spring game. I mean, you've been in this on both sides, obviously here at the Division I level, but when you're getting even when players get recruited from high school, I mean, not really a transfer portal, but do you see spring games maybe changing and just like maybe just doing more practice? Because why would you want to showcase what you have, knowing that and again, I'm not calling other teams cheaters or me, I'm not calling it that, but just you could hear the frustration because I mean you lose 7 guys. Okay, like why have? And his point was why have a spring game? Could you see it going to that?
I think it's all changing to more of a professional model. So I think, in my opinion, I think that guys are going to kind of the OTA route. The older guys will have lesser than the younger guys learning. I think it's more of a learning module more than anything than a full spring game. I think the whole collegiate system is changing to more of a professional system. So I think they're following that. I don't know. I like the spring games because it brings back the excitement in the spring. But I can see from everybody's point. But I think it's going to more of a professional level.
Well, like I told Coach Rego, my favorite parts of the spring game that Coach Dillingham and you guys added was having fans trying to field punts. It's kind of unfair. You make them wear a helmet. I know you want them to. I told Coach Rego it's unfair. He makes them wear a helmet. Yeah. You want them to protect their head. But man, if you've never stood back there, man, now they understand. Now they can't sit there and rip on a punt returner. So I love that.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Coach. Man, it's great seeing you. Thank you. You're good.
How you respond to the success that we've had. How do we do it? We're going to come in as one of the favorites in the Big 12. Everybody knows that. Everybody's got a target on you right now. So, right? crown is heavy, but have a strong neck.
How do you get guys to do that? How do you get them to understand that part of it? It's a mental part.
Well, I think the biggest thing for our room in particular, our room is so competitive. You know, if you're in the 2-3, you better basically start. So if you want some of that, you better continue to do the things you want, because the next guy is always going to do that. So I think having everybody be competitive is a big factor. Nobody can be complacent.
Manny said once, everybody talks about Ash being a sleeping giant, but if the giant never wakes up, he's not a giant anymore, right?
Giant anymore.
You guys woke up the giant, like you talked about earlier. And now, these guys come in probably with a little more spring in their step, a little more success attitude down about them.
They do, but I still think all our guys, you know, for the most part, a lot of them came from other places. A lot of people didn't want them. I think they still got that chip on their shoulder about proving themselves about who they are, and they got other goals and aspirations to play on the next level. So they're not planning thinking that way. So.
Coach, to kind of piggyback off that, like Craig was just saying, I mean, last year, teams are going to prepare for you. Obviously, you're on a schedule as a competitor. They're going to compare, but, you know, pick to finish last, seeing what you did, kind of overlooking. How much more, I want to say, but how much more exciting is it to know that, like you said, you're going to have the target, but kind of relaying that to the players and see how they take the challenge of that?
Well, I mean, it's exciting. I mean, you know, anytime that you're in a place where, you know, you've been part of creating the buzz, it's going to be exciting. But it's also challenging, too. You know, the great thing is we do have a veteran group, and they don't let the distractions get in their way. And I think they're going to, you know, as coaches, we just got to make sure that we hold them accountable. We find new ways to keep them enthused. We find new ways, you know, to keep them interested. You know, we holding them on task right now. You know, we're letting them, challenging them right now in our room to see who can take the best notes. You know, just simple things like that, just to keep them focused and to keep them competitive. So, as coaches, you know, we just continue to try to find new ways to make them grow.
And in those new ways that you said, the veterans coming back, I mean, obviously the job they did, I mean, it was on display all season long. But nationally, people got to see it in the Peach Bowl. But of those guys that are returning, I mean, obviously a Jacob, a CJ, a Clayton, I mean, on and on and on. And Justin, like, how do you feel that in this offseason? How have you seen them grow even more?
I've seen them take a new approach in the way that, you know, the way that they push each other. They're really pushing each other hard. Coach Joe's got them going.
I'll say this: I saw CJ, and I'm like, you're big already. Settle down. But I know Coach is happy about that.
And then, you know, again, like you said, you know, they're changing their bodies. You know, the bad way to turn in the good way. They're starting to look like different human beings. You know, they're tweaking their diets, even in the off season. So they're trying to be smarter about what they do on and off the field, understanding now that that's going to have a huge effect on who they are.
Right. And then on and off the field, real quick, CJ and Jacob going to play some volleyball. I know CJ's got an athletic family. Mom's sister played, but I mean, they actually look pretty good, Coach. I mean, they're athletes. I know you know that, but I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about them on the volleyball court?
Actually, you know, it's kind of a proud papa moment, but because I think they went over there with other motives. But I'm gonna leave it at that.
Coach, seeing your team going into the Peach Bowl, there was a lot of noise around the Texas offense, constant pressure on the quarterback, causes all the havoc. You saw these guys work all season long. What did it mean to you as a coach to see it come to fruition on the national stage?
It meant a lot. I was, you know, we were all kind of heartbroken not to finish, but I love the way the guys stood up and played against. They just took it as the next opponent, and they played hard. I think we executed well. I think the last, 3 to 4 games at the end of the season, we were executing at a high level, doing some things we hadn't done consistently in the beginning of the year. So it was good to finally see it kind of come all together.
Thanks, guys.
Do you think with Caleb going through all the lows he did and then seeing the highs and being that next guy up, as you said, do you think that sort of pedigree that he had sort of helped him progress?
Good, man.
was. And this is something not to mention. Look what this guy's been through. You know what I mean? Through the highs and lows, staff changes, all the just the adversity, right? And hasn't wavered on wanting to be here and how he works and the things we get to see, his energy and how he comes in the building every day. So I think he just set a really good example for those guys of like, hey, if you don't like where you're at in the depth chart, if you don't like something, hey, put your head down and go to work. And if you do that long enough, good things will happen.
Coach, speaking of going to work, I mean, asking the other coaches, I mean, last year, obviously teams are preparing for you. Pick to finish last or not. In the competitive sport, they're going to prepare for you, but maybe kind of being overlooked. But now this year coming in with, obviously, Big 12 champs, it's a new season, but how have you seen maybe the excitement around the team and the growth of knowing that now you have the target on your back?
You know, it's again, I was telling them earlier, Coach Dillingham really challenged the team and the coaches to handle success. So it's more about, I think, your attention to detail and your process has to be even better. Because what we all know when we do finally get there in the fall is that you're going to have a target on your back. And you can't worry about that target. You just have to focus on being a better version of yourself as a football team. And as that trickles on down to the defense, special teams, offense, whatever it is. So I think for us, it's just really what I see is just a little bit more maturity in certain areas. Guys a little bit more willing to call each other out on things. I think when the coaches do address things, there's probably a little bit more receptiveness because of maybe the maturity. Now we've got to continue to move that forward. And I think but Coach Dillingham has done a good job really addressing that and challenging the guys to do that.
Well, with your group too, I mean, last year you told me up at Camp T, the first thing you did was make them comfortable being very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And the growth that we saw from them, no matter, like you said, no matter who's out there, they were all performing. With that said now, coming into spring ball now, not really, I know you talked about the growth not being a question, but how do you feel that your group has helped is going to help the rest of the defense grow from the beginning?
Yeah, I would just, like I challenge those guys a lot. Pretty much in everything they do, I challenge them to be the standard of whatever Coach Dillingham or Coach Ward is asking us to do in this program. It doesn't mean we're perfect at it. It doesn't mean we always hit that, but I want them to know in the sense that if you're going to be the standard or something, that means your teammates and the coaches are looking at you on how you do things, what your process is, and how you respond both to good and bad situations, if that makes sense. So I think they've done a good job with it, you know what I mean? And there's been a couple times where I've actually found stuff that maybe wasn't a big deal, but I intentionally kind of twisted it just to keep them on their toes. But they also understand me as I'm going to keep them on their toes. And what I think I appreciate about the group right now is they're challenging themselves to do that, you know what I mean? And there's enough when you watch us play defense, like, it's not like we were the 85 Bears last year either. We gave up some points to Kansas and some points to Central Florida. You know what I mean? Like, there's some games, Texas Tech, you look at, we didn't play real well on defense. And so those have been, like, what's cool about our guys, I thought we got better and better. It's one of the few teams I've been around that every week our guys kept getting better and better and better. And so far, really what we're challenging the guys right now is take from the scars and the mistakes we've learned. Let's grow from those as we move forward.
And then now that you've, speaking of that, like getting better, now that obviously had time to digest it, when you go back and you see the Peach Bowl film, I mean, again, the defense just kept chugging away, but you're kind of, I know as being a coach and being tough on it, but you're great of that, like how that last performance we saw.
There's a lot of really, really great stuff, and there's some really bad stuff. It's a football game, put it like that. And it's the type of game that, as we saw, one or two plays differently. So we really challenged the guys on defense because I know a couple guys really took it. They all took it hard, but really, felt like they had let the team down with some things. And it's like, listen, we're going to grow and learn from it. We're not going to point fingers. We're not going to blame. You know what I mean? Like, it was a team loss. And I'll say it sucked. It still sucks, but you've also got to be able to move forward. There was probably a week or two, and we hit the road recruiting that I'm wallowing in it. And every plane flight I'm on, I'm watching and thinking about it. But to grow, you got to be able to move forward. You know what I mean? And that's what they've done a pretty good job is, the teams I've been around that can take a loss like that and use it as motivation and use those lessons to help build you and grow you, you can do some really special things. And, when I was at North Dakota State in 2010, we lost in the quarters, got knocked out by actually Bo Baldwin's Eastern Washington team. And coulda, woulda, shoulda, had an opportunity to win the game. We didn't. We had a real young team that learned from those mistakes, and then we rattled off 3 straight national titles. And you know what I mean? So I was explaining to the guys, if you take the lessons and the things that learn and the things that really suck and hurt right now, and you remember those, that can be a good extra motivation factor that, let's call it what it is, some other teams don't have or won't have right now.
You talked about the continuity within your unit, but just the coaching staff as a whole and kind of having that continuity there as well. How do you think that helps keep that message?
Oh, I think it's huge because everybody, I had a coach tell me one time, it usually takes a staff a year to figure out how to work it. You know what I mean? Generally, when a staff comes together, they come from different places, different ideologies. It's understanding and buying into what your head coach wants. And then when you have an offseason like us, where we didn't lose any full-time coaches, well, now we have, I think, a better understanding of what Coach Dillingham expects and wants out of us and out of the players, if that makes sense. And again, you don't leave anything to assumption, but at the same time, when we had that, so then you maybe have to spend less time going over those things, and we can go over more time progressing and growing and building. And I think it also allows us to keep our ears open and be more receptive to, when I sit down and talk to Kosanga about the run game and things that he knows and they do, and then I can correlate it to what we do defensively. You're more open to share things and talk about things and kind of learn from each other, if that makes sense. Plus, we're lucky. It's a bunch of really good dudes. Like, I've been on a bunch of staffs, and I've been on staffs where you didn't like people on the staff, you flat out hated people on the staff. Like, we have a staff of guys that really wants to be here and they get along and enjoy each other. You know what I mean? And like you guys, when you enjoy going to work, it makes it a little bit easier. It's a little funner. You know what I mean?
Thanks, Chris. It's a good season what's possible for him this year?
Is there certain
No, I think you saw how hard our guys played, and I think the big thing that teams look at our defense and say, that's a sound defense.
Also, just sense of what Coach Warren and Coach Dillingham want. Needs to play with 11 men on the field and play together. We need that to expand on so I'm very pleased with what Coach Dillingham escape with it. I got to give him what have you seen? Like, he's like a different guy. If you remember, we signed Fire out of high school, and he was a 3-4 out from the back.
Last play against Texas. Hey, we got you into the situation right now. You just showed us a look that was advantageous. You just do this call. They changed the call, and they executed it. And it could have been a better call. So, but most of the times you maneuver your way into those situations. That's when we got to where we wanted, and very rarely on the positive side.
Do you think about those calls that didn't work more than the ones that did?
Of course. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's funny. I had another media guy ask me in one of my earlier interviews, like, so you can't ask me about the fourth 13 call unless you ask me about how Texas had 10 points after the first drive and 160 yards of offense up until overtime, or Samari's safety, or the pick from Javen, or the sack on third down, okay, or it's just like, okay, you can ask me about those things because I made the calls on those calls too, so it's part of it, and you're always going to remember your scars, or you're always going to feel it, and you don't dwell on those things. You just find ways to go, hey, you're going to get better because of those situations. And I really believe if I haven't gone through those type of situations in my career, there's no way that I can find a way to improve as a coordinator and coach. And players are the same way. Like, you don't just imagine. I know everybody wants the savior, the magical guy that just comes out of the womb ready to freaking call great defense. It's just usually great coordinators are a product of two things: a lot of really good experience, or being a lot of really good players. And I've been a part of both.
Are you looking forward to the challenge that lies ahead for you? Big 12 champions, 11-3 last year. Are you looking forward to what?
You're talking about the fall. I'm talking about this spring. I mean, I'm looking forward to that challenge. You know what I mean? But that's the beauty of that's why I'm just blessed to do what I do. I mean, I really truly love it. I love my job. I look forward to getting up every single day. You know what I mean? Going to work. So, and that's what it is. It's about a challenge. So there's no days I ever look at the clock. Most days I'm always staying late, even now when I go to do and finding something.
Brian, how long did it take to get over the hurt of the beach ball and transition?
I'm not over. No, I mean, there's just you're not when you end on whenever you end the season on a losing note. You know, not only you talk about the stage and everything it took to get to that point, but even if it was a bowl game, you know, I mean, you lose a bowl game, or like, is the hurt from the Peach Bowl easier to take than the year before losing to Arizona? No. Like, I know it sounds like no, it's not any different. I mean, when you get your doors blown off by your rivals, that hurt stays with you. That drives you. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think this group. It's really our job, and I think they're wired this way to remind these guys and continue to remind these guys like we can do better, like we can be better, and you can be better individually and cumulatively. Right? Yeah, so it just never ends. The challenge never ends. I mean, the challenge never stops. We got to continue to evolve in defense. The players got to continue to improve. The onus is on us as coaches to be able to challenge them to get to that point.
And Coach, to piggyback.
It's not too long ago that he was in the elevator with you. I don't know if you remember this, but he just made a comment about do you believe we're going into year 3 already? And then you said something similar to say like how much fun we're having. Do you remember that?
It doesn't feel like year 3. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Is it doesn't feel like year 3 because it's gone so fast, and even 2 years ago when we were 3-9. I can honestly say that we felt like we were moving towards something. Like there was never a period where we went, oh, this is never going to work. This is, you know, like you throw up your hands, you're going, oh, we're swimming upstream, or we're not doing, this has been, we're already in year 3, and it feels like we just got it. And that's the beauty of it. We feel like we're continuing to build, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of.
Is what you're describing, Ryan? Is it because your roots, you feel this way about this job because your roots are here? Is it because that you have around you? What is it that makes you feel special?
Oh man, I think it starts first with the people you have around you. I think at first it was the roots, but after you've gotten to know the staff that Coach Dillingham's put together, after you really start seeing, like, there's a bunch of selfless, guys who really want to coach and really care about these players and care about this program and care about this community. I think we have 6 guys on staff from this community. We have some transplants too. I mean, it's only made it that much more special. So I think at first it was about the roots of being back and pinching yourself that you're here at your, the place that you always wanted to be. And then now it becomes about the guys that you're working with. You develop genuine relationships, you care about those guys. And then the players, and now you got those relationships now, and that's what makes football so special. You know what I mean? So, it's gone so fast because you get to a point where, like, hey, we want to win, for everybody in the building and for everybody outside the building. This is bigger than us.
And Coach, when you talk about, you're saying getting ready for the spring, but obviously coming into last spring, coming off a tough season, but after obviously this season, what have you noticed from? I guess you noticed from the guys about, talking about, yes, having a target on your back, but also like just the preparation, getting ready, because again, it's still the same preparation, but just now you're more noticed.
Here's what's one of the coolest things just from last year. So as we started to make the turn, people go, oh, you're a bowl team. Oh, wait a minute, you guys could go to a better bowl. Now you can go, oh, now you guys can win the conference. Now you guys can go to the playoff. Our guys' mentality never changed. Like, there was never a point where our guys relaxed. And, part of the reason we brought in guys like on defense, guys like Kendrick and we brought in Kendrick, McKill. We brought in guys to continue to push beyond. Does that make sense? Like, we don't want guys to get comfortable. We don't want them to change their mentality because success can change people. You know what I mean? And we don't want that to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you bring more guys in, you stay competitive. Guys can't relax. Bringing a guy like Boogie, who started 12 games last year, in our defense, who knows our system, our safeties can't get comfortable. Like, yeah, he's not going to practice this spring because of his shoulder, but even in the walkthroughs, the dude already knows what to be. So if you feel like you're getting comfortable, yeah, you're going to get left behind. So the guys never showed any indicators of getting comfortable. I don't see this group showing that.
And then I was just asking Coach Reynolds that I saw the video, and I mean they're showing off their athleticism, both CJ and Jacob. But how did you feel about seeing them play some volleyball?
I didn't see it.
Oh,
I didn't see the video.
But, I mean, they took to the coaching from the players pretty well, and they looked all right. But
really?
Yeah, they're over there.
I'm watching volleyball with my daughter, and I'm watching it every weekend. So, yeah.
Well, that's why I asked you, because I knew you had a little experience.
I'm definitely going to check it out. Yeah.
Throughout the offseason, as you're reflecting.
What's up, Coach? Good, man. How are you?
All right. So we're here with Coach Carrington now. So I'm streaming my show live. I just did it live to talk to all you guys. So it worked out well. All right. First thing, obviously, I know you come off of last season. You come into spring ball, obviously, and guys are chomping at the bit because not a good season the season before. But they knew that obviously there was work to be done. This year, and again, last year teams, obviously they're going to prepare, pick to finish last or not. As you know, if a team's not preparing for another team, they're going to get punched in the mouth all day long. But now that you come into this season, and I know it's spring, but you come into the spring knowing that other teams are already looking at you because you have the target on your back. I guess how much more excitement have you felt from the guys in your room and just the guys in general, knowing that, yeah, we are champs. We know we have to do the work, but now that target's on our back.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of built a monster a little bit with how last year handled and how we were finished last or picked last in the Big 12. It's all about that locker room. That locker room was very motivated by being counted out. Now, what do you think the locker room feels like now? We went 11-3. You know, we played for the Peach Bowl, you know, and it came down to one play. You know, so I would say that locker room is trying to get back to that moment again and prevail. I feel like that's the goal. If that's not the goal, then, you know, I would personally have a problem with it. You know, just as far as the standard, as far as where we see this program, as far as where we see Arizona State, as far as how that locker room sees each other. With all these starters coming back, you know, like I feel like that's the expectation in that locker room. So we have to meet the expectation of what our players believe we can achieve.
And with starters coming back, I mean, obviously in the secondary, we saw what they were able to do last year. And, you know, I was always kidding around with you and Coach Cooper that obviously the linebackers set the tone for the defense and Cyrus got the first touchdown of the season. But when you look how and obviously what you had on the field, but even the guys that came in and how your secondary grew, what do you take from last season? And I don't like to use the word proud because obviously proud, but I mean, what do you take from how they grew last season from where they started to where it was just a very, very, very good secondary?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't feel like you make the playoffs without good secondary play, point blank period. We set a lot of goals, you know, for the secondary, especially based on how the 3-9 season went. You know, so the standard was we have to elevate our standard from a back end standpoint. You know, so for these guys at this point, you know, it's win it all or you know, it's a failure in their eyes kind of deal. So I feel like on paper, going into last season, the cornerbacks selfishly were the most underproven, underexperienced group. You know, so all week or all throughout the season, me and D-Walk was telling these guys, you know, every week matters. Every week matters. We have to finish the season on a high note. We can have a good 6 weeks and then it can all go down. Right. You know, and then, you know, from a cornerback standpoint, it's like it's never good enough. It's only good when it's over. When it's over and the season is done, what's the testament of our work? You know, you're the hero or the villain playing cornerback. So trying not to get guys too high, trying not to get guys too low. That's really the challenge for us as coaches to keep these guys, you know, humble, keep them hungry, you know, and we got to, you know, we had 3 pillars. We got to be smart, we got to be scrappy, we got to be technical every Saturday, you know, for all 4 quarters. That's the thing about playing cornerback in reference to being an offensive guy. You got to be stealth mode, 80 plays, locked in, or everybody's going to blame you for play 80 if 1 through 79 was perfect. Everybody's gonna blame me for play 80, all on Twitter. You know how that thing goes. So just keeping the guys humble, keeping them hungry, keeping them locked in and dialed in.
Okay, speaking of that, it made me think of Jamin against Kansas. Was it the Kansas? No, BYU. BYU when he had the interception. Like, he didn't play a bad game, like you're saying, up to that point. But some people are like, oh, man, that they're going after him a little bit. But when he came up with that interception, I mean, that flipped the play. In that moment, what was going through your head when he came up with that pick?
I mean, it's all about finish. I mean, what a great moment, for the team in that aspect, So just for us to be able to make that play in that moment, I think that was very rewarding for Jabin. Gave Jabin a lot of confidence. After that game, I feel like it all comes down to moments, and that's what we were kind of pushing on those guys at cornerbacks. Like, sometimes you're just playing center field, you're not getting much action, but the 3 to 6 moments a game, what is that going to say about Jaden Robinson? What is that going to say about Keith Abney? So in those moments, your ass better show up. So in versus BYU, Jaden showed up in his moment and was able to kind of seal the game for us.
And then, so from the athletic standpoint, because DBs always will say they're the best athletes. If you talk to Clayton, he's the defensive line, he's the best athlete, the linebackers. But I got to ask you, did you see CJ and Jacob go over to the volleyball team, take some coaching, and play some volleyball? They look, for D linemen, you got to admit, they look pretty good.
Giant humans. And I don't know that, they're not trying to set them up to spike the ball, but, they probably be some good setters in volleyball, I would say.
And then coming into the spring, lastly, Coach, what are you looking for from this group? Because obviously back, Coach Ward wants to do what you want to do, but what are you looking for this group to grow with as we approach the spring?
Just raise the level of competition. We want a lot of competition. It's our job as coaches to kind of continue to stock the pond. We're off to a great start, but we just got to make sure our guys are hungry and that our guys are competitive. Coach Walker said a lot, you're either working hard or you compete. Working hard is we got 16 gassers. Shoot, I got to run all 16. That's working hard. Let me finish. Competing is I'm going to run 16 gassers and nobody's going to beat me. So it's a big difference between working hard and competing, and we want to be absolute brute competitors in that cornerback room. So that's the goal, to be smart, to be scrappy, and to be technical. We just got to compete.
Well, I have no eligibility left, but like I told you last year when you were kind enough to come on the show, that I could definitely play. In fact, I got one coverage play left in me, or maybe one kick return, as long as somebody's blocking.
Yeah, I feel you. I'll call it fair catch.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
I appreciate you. Yeah.
All right, all. That is going to do it. That is going to do it for this phenomenal live edition of the assistant coaches here on Pitchfork Lunch from football. Yes, I'll have it re-aired for those that checked it out. Again, so stoked you can check it out. I am going to get out of here, and I shall see you guys all later. For those listening on KSRN, Forks Up. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. For those of you, again, that were watching, checking it out, man, again, hope you enjoyed. But, yeah, got the assistant coaches, and we will have the you can check it out on my X at Diablo00, ours formerly known as Twitter, my IG, Michael.Cartoon.5, the YouTube channel, M is Michael V is in Victory Season Champ 005 at MVC005 on YouTube. Check it out. So I will see you guys all tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel, and hashtag yes for Big 12 Champs Women's Volleyball, hashtag our state, and as always, you guys know it, Forks Up.
I went to Arizona State. Right. I'm a Sun Devil, man.
The 27-yard line. That's a great call, too. Blake Baker, Funnel will put it up, throws over the middle. Touchdown. Quick flag.
That's away. Trying to center off with Eckerly, and he just missed the net. O'Reilly with the shot. Far down, he scored.
From behind for a month. Now with the lead, they're getting a little wobbly. But a down